The moment that changed everything happened on a Thursday afternoon in May, when my courtroom doors opened, and in walked someone who'd spent years dodging accountability for alleged predatory behavior toward minors, someone who'd been cancelled multiple times, but always bounced back because his young fans refused to believe the accusations. James Charles Dickinson, 25 years old, beauty YouTuber with 23 million subscribers. The first male ambassador for CoverGirl, a self-proclaimed makeup artist who'd built an empire selling products and tutorials to teenagers while simultaneously being accused by multiple minors of sexual harassment and grooming. He walked in wearing designer clothes head to toe. A Louis Vuitton jacket worth $3,000, Gucci loafers, diamond earrings, his signature perfectly contoured makeup, and that practiced innocent expression he'd perfected through years of apology videos. Behind him came 4 attorneys from an entertainment law firm, 2 publicists who'd been managing his image through scandal after scandal, his manager, and a small camera crew filming for what I assumed would be another comeback documentary about being unfairly targeted. But sitting in the gallery, looking young and terrified, was someone who represented the countless teenagers James had allegedly exploited and harassed over the years. Tyler Morrison, 19 years old, aspiring makeup artist working minimum wage at Sephora in the Beverly Center while attending community college. A kid who'd grown up watching James's videos, who'd dreamed of having a career in beauty, who'd applied to work at Sephora specifically hoping to learn from professionals. 3 months ago, he'd been working his shift when James had come in, and what should have been an exciting celebrity encounter had turned into a nightmare. The charges were assault and battery, destruction of property, and criminal threatening. According to police reports and store security footage, James had entered Sephora and approached the makeup section where Tyler was helping a customer. James had overheard Tyler giving makeup advice that contradicted a technique James promoted in his videos. Instead of ignoring it or politely disagreeing, James had inserted himself into the conversation, correcting Tyler in front of the customer, belittling his knowledge and making it clear that Tyler was wrong, and James, with his 23 million subscribers, was right. When Tyler tried to professionally disagree, citing his training and the product specifications, James had exploded. He'd thrown the makeup palette he was holding at Tyler's face, cutting his cheek. He'd swept his arm across the Sephora display, destroying hundreds of dollars of product.
He'd gotten in Tyler's face and screamed that Tyler was nobody, that Tyler would never be successful, that 23 million people trusted James and 0 people cared about what some minimum wage Sephora employee thought. Store security had intervened. Police were called. And now James stood in my courtroom, clearly believing his subscriber count, his young fanbase who defended him through every scandal, his narrative of being a victim of cancel culture, would make this disappear like everything else had. What I did in the next 44 minutes didn't just shock the courtroom. It went viral across every platform, split the beauty community completely, forced YouTube to finally take action they'd avoided for years, and proved that in America, when the system works correctly, no amount of subscribers, no young fanbase defending you, no pattern of escaping consequences places anyone above the law when they commit violence. If you believe that YouTube fame doesn't give you the right to assault teenagers making minimum wage, that having millions of subscribers doesn't make you immune to consequences, that judges must defend working young people even when facing internet celebrities with armies of devoted fans, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to do will show you that even James Charles finally faces justice. Mr. Dickinson, you're charged with assault and battery, destruction of property, and criminal threatening. How do you plead? His lead attorney stood immediately. Michelle Torres, a lawyer who specialized in defending influencers and internet celebrities. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty. What happened at Sephora was a professional disagreement between 2 makeup artists that escalated due to misunderstandings on both sides. My client is passionate about makeup artistry and education. When he heard incorrect information being given to a customer, he attempted to correct it professionally. The situation became heated, but my client never intended violence. This is a case of 2 strong personalities clashing in a retail environment. Ms. Torres, Your client threw a makeup palette at a teenager's face and destroyed property while screaming about subscriber counts. That's not a professional disagreement. That's assault. Mr. Dickinson, how do you plead? He stood slowly, and when he spoke, his voice had that breathy, vulnerable quality he used in his apology videos. Not guilty, Your Honor. I want to explain what really happened because the narrative has been so twisted. I walked into Sephora that day just to shop, to look at new products, to do what I love. And I heard this employee giving a customer completely wrong information about color theory and application techniques. As someone with 23 million subscribers who trust me for makeup education, I felt responsible to correct the misinformation. I approached politely, I tried to help, and Tyler became defensive and rude. He embarrassed me in front of other shoppers. He challenged my expertise. I reacted emotionally, and I regret that. But I was provoked. Mr. Dickinson, you threw something at his face. Was that emotional or intentional? It slipped. I was holding the palette, I was gesturing while talking, and it slipped from my hand. I didn't throw it at him. We'll see about that. Ms. Park, please present the evidence. The prosecutor approached with her equipment. Your Honor, we have complete security footage from Sephora, witness statements from 8 employees and 6 customers, and documented evidence of prior similar behavior by Mr. Dickinson at other retail locations. May I present them? I nodded. The lights dimmed. The first video showed the Sephora makeup section, busy with customers and employees. Tyler was at a display helping a young woman, probably early 20s, select foundation. He was being patient and professional, showing her different shades, explaining undertones. The customer looked happy with his help. Then James Charles entered the frame. He was with 2 friends, all of them carrying shopping bags from other stores. James walked past Tyler's station, then stopped. He'd clearly overheard something Tyler said. He turned back, inserted himself directly into Tyler's customer consultation. The store's audio system picked up everything. James's voice, loud and condescending. Actually, that's not the right shade for her. She needs something warmer. You're going to make her look washed out. Tyler turned, clearly surprised. He recognized James immediately. There was a moment where Tyler looked starstruck, then recovered his professionalism. Oh, hi. I'm actually following the undertone matching system Sephora trains us on. Her skin has cool undertones, so this shade is correct. James laughed, a dismissive sound. Cool undertones? Sweetie, I've done makeup on thousands of people. I have 23 million subscribers. I think I know undertones better than Sephora training. Tyler's face showed embarrassment, but he tried to maintain his composure. I respect your experience, but this is the shade that matches her undertone according to. James cut him off. According to what? Some training video you watched on your first day? I've been doing this professionally for 8 years. I've worked with CoverGirl. I've done makeup for celebrities. Who are you? The customer was looking uncomfortable now, clearly not wanting to be in the middle of this confrontation. Tyler noticed and tried to redirect. Sir, I'm just trying to help my customer. If you'd like, you can browse our section and I can help you after I finish here. James's face hardened. I don't need help from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You're giving her wrong information and you're too proud to admit it. Tyler's voice got firmer. I'm not giving wrong information. I'm certified by Sephora. This is my job. James stepped closer, now clearly invading Tyler's personal space. Your job? Your job is to stand behind a counter at a mall and pretend you know makeup. My job is educating millions of people. There's a difference between someone with a job and someone with a career. Other employees were noticing now. A manager started walking toward them. Tyler's face showed hurt and anger. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm just doing what I was trained to do. James's voice got louder, performing now for the gathering audience. You were trained wrong then. This is exactly why people shouldn't take advice from retail workers. You're not professionals. You're salespeople who don't know the first thing about real makeup artistry. Tyler finally snapped back. I've been studying makeup for 3 years. I'm in school for it. I work here to learn and to help people. Just because you have subscribers doesn't mean you know everything. That's when James threw the palette. The camera caught it clearly. James was holding a Sephora eyeshadow palette, one of the expensive ones worth about $60. He'd picked it up from the display while arguing. When Tyler said that last sentence, James's arm came up and he threw it directly at Tyler's face. Not a slip, not an accident. A deliberate throw. The pallet struck Tyler's cheek, the corner cutting the skin. Tyler stumbled backward, his hand going to his face. Blood immediately started flowing. The customer screamed. Other shoppers backed away. James wasn't done. He swept his arm across the makeup display Tyler had been using. Foundations, concealers, brushes, everything crashed to the floor. Hundreds of dollars of product destroyed. You think you can talk to me like that? You think you can embarrass me? Do you know who I am? I have 23 million people who watch me. Who watches you? Nobody. You're nobody. You're a minimum wage worker who will never be anything. Tyler was still holding his bleeding face, tears in his eyes. Store security was rushing over now. The manager was calling for help. Other employees were trying to calm the situation. James was still yelling, "You'll never have a career in makeup. I'll make sure of it. One video from me and your life is over. You embarrassed me. You challenged me. You're done." Security reached them. They tried to escort James toward the exit. He was resisting, still yelling, "Get your hands off me. Do you know who I am? I'm James Charles. I'm a celebrity. You can't throw me out. This employee attacked me. He was rude. He embarrassed me. I'm the victim here." The second video showed police arriving. James initially refused to cooperate, claiming he was being discriminated against for being a male makeup artist, for being gay, for being successful. When officers tried to take his statement, he kept bringing up his subscriber count, insisting that proved he knew makeup better than Tyler, that proved Tyler deserved what happened. When police reviewed the security footage and confirmed James had thrown the pallet deliberately, they arrested him. James immediately started filming on his phone, narrating for his fans. "They're arresting me for defending myself against a rude employee. This is what cancel culture looks like. They want to silence successful creators. But I won't be silent. Truth always wins." The third video showed something particularly damning. It was footage from a different incident, 3 months earlier, at an Ulta beauty store. James was arguing with a different young employee, a young woman this time, about product recommendations. The argument escalated similarly. James didn't throw anything that time, but he did knock over a display deliberately, and he did tell the employee she was worthless and would never succeed in beauty. The prosecutor explained that they'd found 6 similar incidents over the past 2 years. A pattern of James entering beauty stores, finding young employees who contradicted him, and verbally or physically attacking them. Always young people, always minimum wage workers, always people with less power who couldn't fight back. When the lights came back on, the courtroom was silent. I looked at James, whose face showed calculation now, like he was already planning his apology video, already crafting the narrative he'd sell to his fans. "Mr. Dickinson, you just watched yourself deliberately throw a makeup palette at a teenager's face. You destroyed property. You threatened his career. And we just saw evidence of a pattern of you attacking young retail workers who dare to disagree with you. Do you still maintain this was accidental?" Michelle Torres stood quickly. "Your Honor, my client is a public figure who deals with constant scrutiny and criticism. When he encounters misinformation about his field of expertise, he reacts strongly because he cares about educating people correctly. The prior incidents were professional disagreements that never resulted in charges. This is being prosecuted because of who my client is, not what actually happened. Ms. Torres, your client has a pattern of attacking young people who work in beauty retail. That's not passion for education. That's predatory behavior targeting vulnerable workers. Mr. Morrison, please approach." Tyler stood slowly and walked forward. Up close I could see how young he really was, barely out of high school, still had traces of teenage awkwardness. He wore his Sephora uniform, and there was still a visible scar on his cheek where the pallet had cut him. He looked at me with the nervous respect of a kid who'd never been in a courtroom before. "Mr. Morrison, tell me about yourself." "Your Honor, I'm 19. I graduated high school last year. I'm going to community college studying cosmetology because I want to be a makeup artist. I grew up watching YouTube tutorials. James Charles was one of the creators I watched all the time. I learned techniques from his videos. When I got the job at Sephora 6 months ago, I was so excited. It was my dream to work in beauty. That day, I was helping a customer. I was following exactly what I learned in training. When James walked up, I was starstruck at first. Like, that's James Charles, he's famous, he's successful. I thought maybe he'd give me some advice, maybe we'd have a nice conversation about makeup. But he was immediately rude. He talked down to me in front of my customer. He made me feel stupid. I tried to stay professional, but he kept attacking me. Kept saying I was nobody, that I didn't know anything, that my training was worthless. His voice cracked slightly. When he threw the pallet at me, I couldn't believe it. It happened so fast. I felt it hit my face, felt blood, and I just stood there in shock. Then he started destroying the display and threatening me. He said he'd make sure I never worked in beauty again. He said his 23 million subscribers trusted him and 0 people cared about me. Your Honor, I'm just a kid trying to learn and work. I make $15 an hour. I'm putting myself through school. I was helping a customer, doing my job, and James Charles assaulted me because I didn't agree with him. Tears filled his eyes. After that day, I was terrified to go back to work. What if he makes a video about me? What if his fans find me online and attack me? What if he really does ruin my career before it even starts? I've seen what happens to people his fans target. They get death threats. They get doxxed. They lose their jobs. I almost quit Sephora. Almost gave up on makeup completely. Because if someone as powerful as James Charles can attack me and get away with it, what's the point? How can someone like me ever have a career if celebrities can just destroy us whenever they want? He looked directly at James. I used to admire you. I learned from your videos. I supported you through your scandals because I thought maybe people were lying about you. But now I know. You're a bully. You pick on people with less power because you can. And you hide behind your subscriber count like it makes you better than everyone else. The courtroom was completely silent except for Tyler's quiet crying. Several people in the gallery looked angry. I looked at James, who was staring at his phone again, apparently texting, completely disconnected from Tyler's testimony. Mr. Dickinson, put the phone away and look at Mr. Morrison. He slowly pocketed the phone and looked at Tyler with blank eyes, no empathy visible. Mr. Dickinson, you heard Tyler's testimony. He's a teenager working minimum wage. He was your fan. He learned makeup from your videos. And you assaulted him for doing his job. What do you have to say? He stood, and when he spoke, his voice had that same defensive tone from his many apology videos. Look, I feel bad that Tyler got hurt. That wasn't my intention. But he needs to understand that when you're in beauty, when you're giving advice to customers, you have a responsibility to give correct information. I have 23 million people who trust me. If I hear wrong information being spread, I have to correct it. That's my responsibility to my community. Mr. Dickinson, you threw something at his face. It was an accident. I was frustrated. I was holding the pallet. It slipped. The video shows you throwing it directly at him. He shrugged, that casual dismissive gesture that said more than words. Your Honor, I've apologized. I've offered to pay for his medical bills. I don't know what else you want from me. This is being blown out of proportion because I'm famous. If I was just a regular person, nobody would care about a little argument at Sephora. Mr. Dickinson, a little argument? You assaulted someone, destroyed property, and threatened a teenager's career. Stand up straight. He straightened slightly, jaw set in that familiar defiant expression. Mr. Dickinson, you're 25 years old. You have 23 million subscribers, most of them young people who trust you. You've built a career teaching makeup to teenagers. And you've spent years being accused of inappropriate behavior with minors, of grooming, of sexual harassment. You've never really faced consequences because your fans defend you, because YouTube protects you, because you make them money. But today, you assaulted a teenager at his workplace. And that, I can address. Here is my finding. You are guilty of assault and battery. The video evidence is irrefutable. You deliberately threw an object at Tyler Morrison's face, causing injury. You are guilty of destruction of property. You are guilty of criminal threatening because you explicitly threatened his career and his future. And I'm adding findings about a pattern of predatory behavior toward young people in vulnerable positions. His face went pale. Your Honor, predatory behavior? I was charged with assault, not. Mr. Dickinson, I've reviewed the evidence of 6 prior incidents. All victims were young, all were retail workers, all were in beauty. You target young people you perceive as competition or challenges to your authority. That's predatory behavior. Here is your sentence. For assault and battery, 2 years in county jail. For criminal threatening and destruction of property, 1 year consecutive. For the pattern of behavior targeting young workers, an enhancement of 6 months. Total of 3.5 years in custody. The courtroom erupted. His attorneys were shouting. His publicists were frantically typing. James himself looked genuinely shocked, his mouth open, his carefully applied makeup not hiding his fear. Michelle Torres was yelling, "Your Honor, 3.5 years for a YouTube star? This will destroy his career. He has contracts, sponsorships, millions of subscribers who depend on his content. This is excessive. Ms. Torres, your client assaulted a teenager. His career built on teaching teenagers makeup techniques doesn't exempt him from consequences for hurting teenagers. Additionally, I'm ordering Mr. Dickinson to pay $1 million in restitution to Tyler Morrison. This includes medical expenses, pain and suffering, lost wages because Tyler was too traumatized to work for 2 weeks, and a substantial amount because your client has the resources and because he showed zero remorse. I'm also issuing a permanent restraining order prohibiting Mr. Dickinson from entering any Sephora or Ulta location nationwide. And I'm recommending to YouTube that they review Mr. Dickinson's channel for violations of their harassment policies." James found his voice, and it was shaking now. "You can't ban me from Sephora. That's where I shop, where I get my products. And YouTube won't take down my channel. I make them too much money. Mr. Dickinson, you just demonstrated exactly why you need consequences. You believe your money and your subscribers make you untouchable. They don't. Bailiff, take him into custody." Officers approached. James pulled away, looking at his attorneys desperately. "Fix this. Call YouTube. Call my management. Get me out of this." As they handcuffed him, he was already performing for an invisible camera. "This is what they do to successful creators. They silence us. They destroy us. But I'll be back. My fans know the truth. My sister will post updates. This isn't over." Tyler was still standing at the witness area. James looked at him as officers led him past. "You're going to regret this. When I get out, you'll wish you'd never crossed me. Mr. Dickinson, that's another threat. Bailiff, make a note. Mr. Morrison, that statement constitutes violation of the restraining order before it's even processed. Mr. Dickinson, you just added contempt of court to your record." The doors closed with James still threatening, still performing, still believing his subscriber count meant something in a courtroom. Within an hour, it was trending worldwide. YouTube was flooded with reactions. His fans called it injustice. Other creators said finally, accountability. The beauty community was split. But something else happened. Other young retail workers started coming forward with their own stories of James harassing them, threatening them, making them feel worthless. 2 weeks later, YouTube permanently demonetized James Charles's channel, citing repeated violations of community guidelines regarding harassment. They didn't delete the channel, but he could no longer make money from it. His sponsors all dropped him simultaneously. His subscriber count started dropping rapidly. 1 month after that, 3 young men filed civil suits against James for sexual harassment when they were minors. The criminal case opened the floodgates for victims who'd been too scared to come forward before. James Charles is currently serving his sentence at Men's Central Jail. Tyler Morrison received his restitution and continues working at Sephora, where he's been promoted to beauty advisor. He's become an advocate for retail worker protection from celebrity harassment. If this story moved you, subscribe. Share it with anyone who needs to understand that subscriber counts don't place you above the law, that young workers deserve protection from predatory celebrities, that YouTube fame doesn't exempt you from consequences. James Charles thought his 23 million subscribers made him untouchable. "I gave him 3.5 years in jail and proved that in America, even the biggest beauty influencers face justice when they hurt people.